What's new? What's new? Just finishing up some commissions, and I've got an idea of my own that I'm just um, putting into motion. I guess I have it loosely scripted. Probably I don't know, maybe 50 pages. A
Yeah.
little long for a first issue, but I don't know. I'm just getting ideas out there right now, and then just started yesterday. I put the first initial sketches, so I'm just starting to put the idea on paper because I don't know how your process is when you do your own drawing and writing, but I feel like it's a thing. I don't know. For me, I haven't done anywhere near as much as you have, but I'm noticing that if I go too far with one part of the process, I kind of like it's getting away from me and it's becoming something it shouldn't be. Like it should be. I found the best way is like do a little bit of writing, do a little bit of drawing, do a little bit of like maybe kind of figure out where the story's going, but only script maybe the first issue,
Yeah.
then draw the first issue, then so that it's a comic book. It's not writing
Right.
and
It's like a,
drawing separately. I'm trying to fuse them as one, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
that's crazy. That's so different than I work. Like I don't think I could do it because it takes so much guts to do that, I think. And like
Think so?
I think it takes like faith in what you're doing. And I have zero faith in everything I do until but
I do
for
too.
me
I do too.
I have to have it all. I have to kind of know or have an idea what it can be, like the whole thing, like the beginning, middle, end before I even start. Otherwise, I'm like doubting it the whole time.
So do you fully basically you script everything fully for yourself too before you draw
Yeah,
anything?
I will. I'll script out. I'll have like I just work in like these big outlines. So it'll be an outline that's like, I don't know, like Mind Management was like a really giant outline that had everything sort of broken down into like books and then chapters. And then I didn't write the issues out, but I knew kind of what was happening in every issue. And and then other books like graphic novels and stuff like that, I'll write kind of like I would make it. I would write this outline that if I read it to you, would be like, hey, here's the story. He does this and that, and then the ending. I would have to have that first, and then figure out the page by page. I feel like it's stress. That's the most stressful part. And then once I've figured all that out, then it's just kind of like, I don't know, like just labor, and I don't have to think anymore.
Yeah, I don't know because I try to figure out as much as I can, but I don't fully, you know, work out the details as far as writing. And like I only go piece by piece. For me, that's because I actually did write one or two scripts recently where it's I actually had other artists in mind so that I could do just do more comics because I can only
Yeah,
do one thing at a time.
yeah,
So, but I realized once I had them fully scripted, it's I don't know, it's just maybe I'm not explaining it right, but it's like it becomes something else. It's not what it should be. It should be done together in a way. Like I don't know, like for this one I'm doing right now for myself, that's that's just what makes sense. Like do a little bit and then draw that part because through drawing it, I discover more what it really is. Like, oh wait, no, this is a completely different tone than what it was just in my head or what it
yeah,
was
yeah. No,
in a script.
yeah, yeah, I totally get that. It's like the process. Here, the thing is, I do that to a degree too. Like I'll figure it all out, and then it ends up changing. Like the ending's always different than what I started with. And but yeah, I find that like when you're at the table drawing for hours and hours, and then you're just staring at one page for so long. Like it took you like seconds to write that page probably, and then it
Yeah.
takes like hours to do it. So it's those hours where you're thinking about it and you're like living in that world or whatever, that's where the real, you have to keep, you keep writing it as you're going, like it's always evolving. I think,
Right.
at least for me. But
Is it different when you do it for other artists?
yeah, it's totally different. I feel like I spend a lot more time writing because I know I'm not going to get those hours at the table thinking about
Right.
it. So I have
You have
to
to
do
figure
all
it
the,
all out.
yeah, I gotta like think about it. I gotta do those hours of thinking like uh and sort of simulate that time at the table, but not having the time at the table. So I'll write it out and then I'll just go walk away from it and then go back and read it and
How
then
about
think
this?
about
Are
it.
you, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go
Are
ahead.
you, are you less precious about it when you know you're not going to be spending all that time with it and you're just doing your part of it and then handing it off to someone else?
No, I feel like I when I'm writing it, I'm picturing like what it's gonna look like. And so I really do have an idea of like, oh, I want it, it's gonna look like this. And then and I just have to picture that. I just have to picture it in more detail almost. Where like if I'm writing for myself, I'll just work off an outline, break down the page count. And then once I start drawing the page, then I'll be like, okay, well, what? Add panels, move things around, add a page. And so I'm more precious writing for someone because I feel like
Oh,
I have to think it through more, like whoa, like and I, even still to this day, I'll fall into that trap where it's like, oh, I'll write a page. It's not fun to draw, and
yeah.
then and then go back. I'm like, oh, that's if I had to draw that page, I would hate it. So I try to go back and make sure there's something interesting happening, and because I hate, you get to those pages where it's just like 10 panels of something that's like not that fun,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then and maybe not 10 panels. Even though with your stuff, I was looking at static, and I was like, you have like 15 panel pages, which I love so much. I can't tell you how much I love seeing how many panels you're putting on the pages. And I feel like that's like the trend is to go the opposite, right? Like three
Yeah.
panel, 4 panel pages. And I get bored by those comics.
Yeah. I probably won't do that again because it's just so intense on one
Yeah.
page. You could spend, I remember certain pages where I'd draw two panels and I still had, that was only, the very top of the page. And I'm just spending hours and hours, like from, from eat breakfast, draw a panel, now it's lunch, draw a
Yeah.
panel, now it's dinner. And then I have maybe time to start another one. And then that was that day. I spent that day of my life doing that.
Yeah.
But
No, it's interesting, right? Because you like there's like a mental calculation you make, or at least I make when I'm writing, is like, well, how much time is this part worth? How much is this part of the story worth, like with time and effort and everything? And then I don't know that I I find I tend to lean more towards kind of what you're doing, which is that opening in static where he wakes up and he gets the jar of the bugs or whatever it is,
yeah,
and then goes out and then he's show every moment of it, like him digging the hole and then putting in the hole and covering up the hole, and then I that's how I tend to think when I'm writing too, and then I'm like, oh my god, now it's 15 panels, and I like
yeah,
seeing it, like I like reading comics like that, and
okay,
uh and I think that's great, but then I also think I was like, what? This is how I was like, maybe I could cut out like 5 of these, and then it's like the magic of comics where like the reader fills in the gaps. So
yeah, the in betweens.
yeah, and I like reading. I like how I like seeing every step. I think that's neat. It slows it down
Yeah, I
to
wanted
every
to do
moment.
that. That was kind of an intentional thing. Like, let me really play with the pacing in this and try to. My hope is that people read it slowly. I
Yeah,
mean, they can read it however they want, or maybe they read it twice
yeah.
because there's just so much. You could. I heard a lot of people say, "Oh, it's all these pages, so many panels. I thought it was going to take me, days to read, but I just blasted through it." I'm like, "Ah, man, that took like a whole year."
I know.
And it's
That's
like my hope was that you would kind of take your time with it, and it's. But I mean, whatever it becomes is what it becomes. So it's not really in my hands at that point. But and then my next book, the one I was just talking about, I'm actually going to kind of go the opposite. Well, it's just a different approach. Like I'm going to be doing more like 2 to 3 panels a page, but a lot of pages.
Yeah.
So you're still getting a lot of those quiet, small moments captured, but you're, flipping, flipping, flipping. Whereas on this, it's just all on one page. Like you might get one moment or one scene. Well, some of it's in multiple pages, but it was intentional. Like I wanted to, you can do a lot with one page. If I try to put that out of my mind, like, oh, is this worth it, or is this? But then
Yeah,
while
yeah,
you're
I know.
while you're doing it, then you start to question, like, is it really worth it?
I do
So
the same thing. I find that I have that thought all the time. I'm like, oh, maybe there's an easier way, or there's a quicker way, or a simpler way, and it'll be faster. And then every time I have that thought about anything I'm doing, I I immediately reject it because I know that I'm a lazy person. Like in every other part of my life, I'm as lazy as can be if I don't want to do it, right? So when I find that there's something in comics, I don't feel like doing it, then I 100% for sure make myself do it because I was like, oh, that's just me being lazy. So I, uh, I totally get it. I
I'm
think,
actually, yeah, I'm the same way. Like everything else, I'm like, put it off. It's not important. But with this, I'm like, no, there's no excuses. You have to.
yeah,
It doesn't matter if it's gonna take you 10 days to do. Well, not 10 days, but several days to do a page. But then with Crimson Flower, it was a completely different approach. That was like, I don't know, it was all my own, mental thing, but I put it in my head like I need to do this quick, or not quick, but I was
you
doing a
did.
lot of those pages maybe in a day or two.
You work so fast, and so you were turning those pages in. I'm like, how are you? I don't know how you were working at that pace. Like it was just crazy to me because it doesn't.
Driving myself insane
I know.
for
I
no
only think
reason.
don't do that. I was
Yeah.
I was totally impressed. I was like, wow, you're fast. Like there's a few of us. Like I know Lemire is fast, and I'm pretty quick, and then David Rubin is quick, and then but you were just as fast. And I was like, I don't know how you're doing it because you're putting all those lines down. I'm like, that's there's no shortcutting like your style. So it's just I can't imagine your
I did
hour.
that to myself. I don't No one told me to do that. I just, for whatever reason, I thought, like, because I've worked with writers before, but I haven't worked with like a whole team, or like, I don't know, for some reason I was like, oh, I don't want to be thought of as like, he's taking forever. I don't want to work with him again, or just, I don't know. These thoughts just
Yeah,
came in my
yeah,
head. I'm like, I need to go full out, fast as I can, without sacrificing. So I felt like I found a good balance, but really I didn't, because that was certain moments in that I was driving myself crazy. But the next one, hopefully, it's more. I'm always finding balance. I'm trying to find the balance. Like,
yeah,
so.
yeah. No, I found that when I started doing Department H on those pages, I started because I'd been doing my management. I was doing it monthly, and it was such a time crunch just to get it all done, and it made me move and work quickly. And with Department H, I had a little more time, and so I was like, I'm just going to take as long as I'm just going to go slow, put as much detail in, and take as long as I can. And when I was working on it, I felt like it didn't take much longer. Like I only have kind of one speed. Like when I slow
Yeah,
down, it doesn't get better if I slow down or take more time. It's the same. It just I don't know. It just I'm
because you're
more
still you. You're just
yeah,
doing
yeah,
it at a more comfortable pace.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, no, that's interesting. So yeah, the Crimson Flower, you're turning in those pages so fast. I it was too fast. You didn't have to do that.
I don't know why I did that. It just uh, at a certain. I think towards the end I kind of slowed down a little bit, but I won't do that again unless
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
to.
That's
At least now I know I can do it if I need to. But
yeah. So what are
yeah,
you working on now? You have a new project? Is it uh single issues? Are you writing it too?
yeah, yeah. Well, I haven't started it yet. I'm about to start it, but um, I think I'm just gonna do the first issue and then go from there. Figure out publishing or what I'm going to do with it. I'm just going to do the book I want, do the story I want, and my hope. I don't know why I've always everything I've done, I've kind of wanted it to be short or like quick little. All right, I'm going to dip my toe in this idea. I'm going to do this little story, and whereas everyone else, typically, I feel like they're always wanting to do a long, saga of a story. But I've never related to that until now. And now I kind of want to put everything into this one idea, if possible. But I don't know. You see that less and less now, and I just don't. I don't know.
No, that's good. I feel like you get to the point, like that's a better way to do it, how you're doing it, right? Like I used to teach comics to kids and everything, and they would come in with like their epic idea. It's like, I've got this 300-page epic story I want to do, and I'm like, don't you haven't done any pages yet, so don't start with that. You'll never finish it, so it's like, just do an 8-page thing, like bite off these little small chunks and figure out how comics work and learn it, and then and then and then by the time you get to that epic story, you maybe want to do it, or if you do get to it, it'll be even better, or whatever it is, but
I
that's
feel
what
like if they did do any comics before that, they would realize how intimidating that is.
yeah, they have no idea.
Even 5 pages. When you're first doing 5 pages, when you get to the end of that, it feels like you ran a marathon.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh man, I'm exhausted. How do these guys do it? Like, I don't, I don't understand it. So you have to. I always looked at it like I need to build up that, I don't know, tolerance, or that, whatever you want to call it. Like, that was, not only did I have no interest in doing anything that big or that long, it just, I knew I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's like exercise. You can't just like run a marathon. You have to like start training for it, and
yeah,
like that's what those little short stories, all that stuff, I feel like that's what that is. Like I did before my first graphic novel, I was doing these like 30-page or 40 to 60-page like mini comics.
yeah,
That was my practice, it was like setting deadlines, seeing how long it took, just getting the work done. And then I remember even then my wife was like, why do you set these crazy deadlines? Like nobody's like waiting for you to finish it, and like nobody's expecting it, and I was like, I know, but I have to set it so I have a goal, and then make myself do it, because it is kind of there's a little drudgery to it at a certain point, where like my breakthrough was when there was a couple of days where I just didn't feel like drawing, and
yeah,
like I never would draw when I didn't feel like it. I'm like, I got to be inspired, and I whatever. And I remember where it was. I was in my parents' basement, and I had my art table up there. I was like, I'm gonna draw today. I don't want to draw at all, and I'm gonna force myself to do it. And then I guess I tried it before, and I just kind of like hack it out or do whatever. And then that time I was like, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna try to draw better than I've ever done before, and try even harder, even though I don't want to at all.
yeah.
I felt like that was my big breakthrough, where I was like, oh, well, this isn't. And once you start doing it, then you do enjoy it. It's still fun.
Right.
Yeah. No, so was the Freak, was that your first comic? Like, what did you do before that?
Everything before that was self-published. So that was the one that definitely got the most attention up to that
Yeah.
point. But yeah, I had done when the very, very beginning, when I wanted to try to break in a serious way. I just wanted to be superhero artist. I'll just draw a Batman or something, and I'll be a penciler. And that's all I knew comics to be at the time. And I
Yeah.
kept just submitting little samples, never getting anywhere with that. And but as a kid, I not only did I draw, occasionally um, I would write little stories. So I had some writing experience, but I didn't think I was very good at that. I was always the kid who was drawing, so I'm like, that's my best possible foot in the door. So let me just focus on that. But over the years, I was like, wait, this was my breakthrough, where I was like, wait a second, why don't I just try? just try to do, my own comic writing and drawing. And I just did 3 pages, just 3 pages. And then at the end of it, I was like, wait, there's more to this. So then it ended up being a one shot, like 30 pages or 22 or something. I don't know. And then I kept doing that on my own, just different one shots. I did I actually did this one, uh, like 3 issue thing that never saw the light of day. I don't know. And then I did another mini series of my own. And so, yeah, I did plenty of others. That wasn't my first comic, but um, most people, that's probably the first thing they saw of mine. So,
Yeah, no, I saw that. That's the first thing I saw, and it was at that Heroes Con or whatever. And I walked by Ad House, and Pitzer was like, I was like, "What's new? What do you got?" And he handed me that. He's like, "Look at this one," and I was like, "Oh
nice.
my god!" And I think you were there, and I didn't know. Whatever. I just I got it, and I hadn't read it. I just put it in my stack to read later, and then I didn't read it till I got home, and I was like, "Oh, damn it, you were there." I could have talked to you then,
Yeah.
but no, that was great. But yeah, I could tell that it wasn't your first thing because you don't. Nobody comes out with that as their very first thing. It's too good. Um,
Yeah.
but
There was like, I don't know, maybe 8 years of no one knowing who I was. And
yeah, yeah.
still plenty of people don't know who I am, but
No,
it's fine.
that'll be the rest of your career probably.
Yeah,
In fact,
exactly.
speaking from experience, it's okay. That's what I like about comics is like you can just do even like the most well-known person in comics, you're still nobody knows who you are. You walk down the
Yeah.
street, you know, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. I love it.
No, that's good. I remember when we before we started Crimson Flower, we were talking. I was like, I was surprised you wanted to work with a writer or do something because I felt like your storytelling's so good and like your style so singular and like your voice and everything that I was like, wow. I mean, I was excited, but I was also surprised because it was like, you don't need. What do you need? You don't need me.
Well,
What do you need that
it's
for?
it's not a need thing. I mean, I've always been open to it. Like it it's just a different way of doing comics. So I definitely prefer doing my own thing.
Yeah,
I enjoy all different, you know, approaches to making comics, but um, I remember before, I don't know, I feel like the more you do, the more people are like, "Oh, I thought you were this other thing, but you're actually not." Because I've only done so much. Like I did a little mini comic. It was superheroes where I was just doing the art. And
mhm.
when I remember this was like a few years ago, and someone saw it and they're like, "Oh, I thought you I didn't." They thought they figured me out or something like, "Oh, I thought you were just." I don't know what they thought I was, but they were just shocked that I was doing a superhero comic. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just I'm gonna have to do a lot more to.
yeah.
That's part of why I just want to do more stuff to. I don't know. Just people think you're just this one thing. Like
Yeah. No, I
I
was
don't
just
know.
saying when I started in like indie comics, I guess with Top Shelf, and my books were, sort of categorized that way. But I was like, we all grew up, or you kind of grow up reading a lot of the same stuff, and it's like we all like
Yeah,
the same thing. At a certain point, there's only so many comics, and so the overlap of people making them is pretty big because we all kind of like similar stuff. So like I think that perception of like, oh, you're doing indie books and these weird stories and the art doesn't look like traditional mainstream stuff. People just assume that like uh they they picture a certain kind of person or a creator doing it. I was like, no, I could tell you like genre stuff. Like I love genre, I love all the genres. I don't Superheroes is great. I grew up in it, but it's not the only one I like, you know.
yeah.
It's like science fiction and crime and yeah, I totally get that. But no, I've been seeing your commissions online. I just saw that the martial law one, which is really great. I was a big fan of martial law, and no,
Nice.
I love your take on these heroes because they're so crazy, right? Like it's almost like a reimagining in it, or it's like seeing them through your eyes, and it kind of reminded me of like Mobius when he did the Iron Man and then the
Yeah.
Punisher, and he was drawing those Marvel heroes that you're, and then they're just so like off, they're off model, but they're exactly right, and it's so neat to see that. I whatever, I don't know what I'm
Well,
saying.
I don't think I'm that good, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
who,
know.
that's what are your influences? Like if you're gonna, and it doesn't have to be comic book people. I just wonder like what it's like, what kind of stuff do you like?
Ooh, um,
What a horrible question too. I hate it when people ask me this, but
I don't mind it. I don't know. There's so many. There's just so many. I go through phases where I'll be kind of obsessed with one thing, and then I'll just leave it in the past. Like it could be a month, it could be a week, it could be a couple of years, and then I'll forget I even was into that. And I feel like you could be inspired by anything and not really even realize it.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, that's a stupid, unfair
so
question that I
no,
always
no, no, that's
hate it
fine.
as well. But yeah, no,
But
when I'm just gonna tell you then, I'm gonna tell you what I like when I first saw your work, I was like, this is, I felt like it was like and I don't even know why, but I like Robert Crumb. I appreciate Robert Crumb's stuff, but the stories never appealed to me. You know, like the storytelling and all that. I was like, oh, it's just like it's cool because there's a lot of lines. And so when I first saw your stuff, I was like, oh, this is, boy, I can really see like it's, if I was going to categorize you in a school of comic art, it would be in that, whatever that category is. I don't know what it is, but then there's something so much better about it. Like your stuff is so much more solid, and the storytelling is there, and the actual stories are something
oh,
I'm more interested in. Uh, no, that you did that story, Dagger Dagger, the anthology, the guy with the thing that happened to his foot and everything, was just,
yeah,
anyway, it was just amazing. It's just weird and singular, but
thanks.
where was I going with that? No,
I feel
anyway,
like
that was sort of my first response. So I wonder if you do you like Crumb at all, or was that anything you'd seen?
no, I that's I'm actually glad you brought that up because I've been compared to him a lot, and like
Yeah,
um, who else? Jeff Darrow, because I do a lot of the little like pebbles or like you know little tiny details, and
yeah, yeah,
but I actually don't own any of their books. I've obviously seen their art and I do like it, but I've actually drawn with the open. I think what people are seeing is the now I play with like values and textures more,
hmm,
but with like the freak, it's all open. It's all like I don't know why I made this rule for myself, but at the time I wanted to do it all like one, just not a continuous line, but just open lines and
yeah,
not do any shadows or any values because I just didn't know how to do that. I was intimidated by because I'm just self-taught and I'm just learning as I go. And ever since I was a kid, I've drawn in that way. Like I put shadows to the side. I put values to the side because I just don't even know how to dip my toe into that water. But now I am. And I think that's why more so earlier on, they would always say, "Oh, you look like this or that," but I think it just happens to be kind of a coincidence that my work looked like that because that's what they're noticing. Like, oh, they're both open. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. No, it's interesting you say that because I you can see the steps like from the freak to through Crimson Flower, and then Static is kind of in between, right? The Static
yeah, Static was before Crimson Flower.
pre Crimson Flower, yeah. So I can see the, you can see the evolution, and then when you said Jeff Darrow, I was like, it's like, oh, I don't see it. But then I think about the freak, I was like, oh, I do, but it's your style evolving from like,
Yeah,
it's
they don't say
clean
that
line,
anymore
you have a
because it
clean
doesn't.
line style, right? Yeah, yeah. And
But part of that is also it's like I think a lot of artists, and not to you know criticize or anything. I feel like a lot of artists try to find their style and land on it. Like, yes, this is me. I figured it out. This is who I am, and it kind of stays that way, which
yeah,
is fine, perfectly fine. But the reason my style keeps morphing is because I get bored so easily.
yeah,
Like you said, we're spending all day on a panel or all day on a page, I don't want to just keep, and we're drawing the same character over and over and over again. I need to make it fun. I
Yeah.
need to change it up and challenge myself. So that's the reason. It just happens to be crummish right now, and
Yeah, no,
I get the
I even hate
comparison.
that. And it's, I don't hate even saying that. And it's not a, I don't think it is. I think it's in the same school of you know, and yeah, I hate those comparisons sometimes, but
It's
like,
fine.
'cause your
I
stuff's
get
so
it.
different and it's evolving, and that's what's kind of fun to see. I like seeing that evolution and everything, but I'm the same way too. I don't want to draw the same way. I want to try different materials. I want to try um whatever, just different techniques. I'm going to say real quick, when I got some of your original art, and when I started and you can't tell when it's printed and in the comics, but when you look at the art, your thin and thick lines, this is total art nerd talk or whatever, but I was like, those your thick lines, you're using like the same pen, it looks like, for like the small stuff, and then you're thickening the lines like just by going over them again, right?
Yeah, yeah, mostly. I mean, now I'm playing a little
Yeah,
bit more with like this is a like a brush marker
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of thing, but mostly, yeah. I don't. I just like the I like the feel of that. I like the it's the feel and it's a certain look where I want to feel like someone just grabbed a sheet of paper, a pen, very simple tools, and they just, they did something with that. Like you could imagine. Actually, funny you say that. In the beginning of the Freak, I thought I had the idea. I didn't end up doing it, but I thought, what if I did this whole book with one size micron, kind of like the shovel? So like the shovel is his one
Right,
thing,
your
and
tool.
I
Yeah,
did it with one tool,
yeah.
but I ended up, I'm like, no, I need to incorporate at least a few different thicknesses. But I
Yeah.
just like that. I like the idea behind that. Like I could just take a few.
God, you know what would be crazy is if you did a story that using the one tool, but then you only use that specific one. So like when it starts, they start to get raggedy and sort of run out. And if you
That's what my
time it,
thought was. Like
yeah, oh my
towards
God,
the
that'd be
end,
awesome.
as it
Yeah.
starts wearing down, you
Yeah, it
see
would
it.
just be like rough, and that's great. I still think you should do that. I
I
think that's
might,
a great
I'm,
idea.
I might do that. That was
Maybe,
the original idea, but
yeah.
I'm like, it's maybe I'm not good enough to use one. Like you really need at least two or three different, unless you just go over and over and over it. But
What's
at the
crazy is
time,
that it's risky because like when you get to, what if, who knows what that pen's going to be like at the end? Like what kind of marks it's even going to be able to make? Like you would be like
you probably
scratching the
couldn't do
paper.
too long of a story because it's just going to dry out. So
Yeah, I know, you'd almost have to test it to see how long one pen lasts, and then write a story that fits it. But that'd be cool.
and now I'll go over. Now we're really getting into the art nerd talk, but
That's okay. This is for us.
okay, it's just me and you. That's it.
Yeah.
But I would now. I don't know why I did this, but earlier on, I just, without even realizing it, I told myself, you need to just do one. If you really study the Freak, if people who have it, if you open it up, every line, it was just one stroke. Like I wouldn't go over it the way I do now. Like now it's very sketchy, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of like I was unlearning that. Like now I'm like, no, what what does that really give me? Like what's that doing? Just because it's a perfect one line, even if it was shaky, or any kind of a natural human line,
yeah.
I didn't want to go over it. Like I thought of it like I need everything to be. I don't know why I did that, and now I really like. I'll even one thing I picked up over just through the experience of drawing it. I kind of do like a second pencil phase where I'll take, this is a 0.005 micron,
Yeah.
and I'll loosely pencil, like pretty loosely. I'll just get the shapes, or like I'll get, let's say, the body, but I won't do, or I'll do the outfit too, but I'm not doing any of the textures or anything. And I don't pencil really tight, but I'll use this and go over it, and that'll be kind of like a second pencil phase,
Hmm.
and I'll just kind of sketch with that lightly, and then with the actual lines, now it's like I'm really inking, so then I can refine where those lines are. if that makes sense. So I'm
Yeah, yeah,
doing
that's cool.
now. I'm layering ink.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's neat.
So
I love that process. And yeah, you know, it's funny. I do the same thing. Like every book, I feel like I set up like some artificial rule or something like, and it's almost like a game. And I wasn't doing it on purpose early. And then I started to become conscious of it. And then I was like, well, okay, well now I need to do it for a reason. And I started doing it for reasons. But yeah, most of my rules ended up being like, they weren't art rules though. They were more like storytelling ones. Like I'm not going to use any captions. Or I'm going to do like I did a book called Two Sisters and uh and I was like, I'm not going to do anything where there's like a scene transition or like a caption that's like uh whatever. It was World War II, so it's like the cuts from London to Germany, and I wasn't going to do a caption with Germany or a cut to it even.
it's just
So
gonna be there.
yeah, so I had to write. No, not even that. I wrote like these. It was a couple pages of like a train going across the country, and then you enter the city. It was like camera moves, like going from panning from one country to the next to do these things.
Mhm.
And so it really is like 100-page story that ended up being 300 pages because I couldn't do any I couldn't do any of those
Because you
things
didn't want to
I
explain
do.
it,
Yeah.
or like, were you viewing that as almost like a shortcut
Yeah.
if you
I
were to do that?
No, it was I think I did it just to see if you could do a book
Oh, a
without any of
challenge.
that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. And I was like, you can do it. It just takes a lot more pages to do it.
There might be a reason people don't do this.
I know after that book, I was like, well, never again. But you know what was great is like then it changed my uh how I feel about captions, location captions and changing scenes and like doing that. It made me more like sensitive. It made me appreciate it. And so
Mm.
when I do it, I like do it with more purpose, I think. So in hindsight, I think it was like a good thing. But yeah, no, I do that more with storytelling, less with art, because the art to me, I have a certain skill set and I can push it so far, but I can only go, I can only do so much with that, you know. But
When you start a new comic, like, is there always one thing that comes first, or is it all different? Like, is it a challenge like you just described, or is it maybe a character or an idea, or like, is it always the same, or
no, it'd be great. I guess maybe it'd be boring if it was the same every time, but it would also be great, less stressful because I'd be like, oh here's my idea, or I have a way to get ideas and then I just do this
mm,
thing, but they just come from everywhere. And then I have like a running, I have a document with like 40 to 100 different little ideas, just like one sentence or paragraphs or like outlines for things. And
yeah,
I
I've got
just
that
keep
too. Maybe
adding.
not that much, but
Yeah,
like,
you're still young, man. I'm old. I've had that document for a long time. So what happens is the ideas start to pile up faster than you can get to them.
mhm.
And then you get to the point where like, which one? What do I want to do? And then you sort of have to pick. And then what happens is I always pick like the one I just had, the new idea. I was like, oh, I like this one the best, but because I just had it.
Do you ever like take old ideas and like combine them, or like,
Sometimes,
yeah,
yeah, right. Or you find an old idea. I'm like, well, that's dumb, and then you try to like breathe life into it. It's like I
yeah.
can fix this.
I just had, for the new comic that I'm doing now, I maybe like a year ago, I thought of this world. It was like a world that I made up, but it
Mhm.
didn't fit the story I was writing. So I'm like,
Yeah,
well, there's something here, so let me just save it, but I don't know what would fit for this. But the new idea, I remembered it. I'm like, oh yeah, I should use that now. So just like combining old ideas, and even with static, like uh, that took on different forms.
yeah,
It was something else completely different, and then I remembered other ideas that I had, and kind of just mix them together in one soup.
yeah. No, that's crazy. Yeah, I'll have ideas like that where they end up just evolving into something else. And like I'm working on, or I just finished that book Fear Case, which is like this horror story, and I actually was talking about it the other day to a friend of mine. I was like, where I can always remember where my ideas come from. And that one, I was like, where did that come from? Like it seemed like fully formed and everything. And I was like, what? I don't remember where it came from. And then I did remember it came from like this old sci-fi. I had an idea. I wanted to do like a Cthulhu thing, mythology thing, but like a woman gets into a spacesuit and goes to the wherever the elder gods are in this other universe in this like super suit. And she's
Huh.
just a normal person, and she goes and then there's like all this political intrigue between the Cthulhu monsters, and she's like kind of a Lois Lane person in this armor, like investigating, and then that idea turned into like, the beer case, which is totally not that. It's like detective, procedural, grounded. It's about these two guys, and it changed so much that I forgot where it came from.
Yeah.
And so yeah, ideas are just weird.
You never know, like you could have this one little thing and then it turns into completely different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's why I don't I'm not real precious about ideas. They happen all the time, so it's just a matter of like whatever. It's more about timing, what you're in the mood for, you know.
I feel like, yeah, that's something I'm learning too. Like I used to be more like, oh, this one idea, I need to make something of this. But now I'm
Mhm.
just kind of adding it to the stack, and then whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Just don't. It, hopefully, the ideas keep coming. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they do. That's you rarely do they won't stop coming. That's really the problem. So then you'll end up like I can tell like you're like that. You'll just be racing to your own. You'll be racing to finish before you die. Get all your ideas done.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
That's why you
Pretty
draw
much.
so fast because you got to get done.
Now I'm trying to step more into your lane where I'm like doing multiple books, or like trying to get other artists to maybe draw like one idea that I have, but
Yeah, no, that's
I don't
good
know.
because I think you have good ideas and it'll be interesting to see you collaborate. But as a writer, because I like your I like the stories you come up with, and it'll be interesting to see how that translates through other artists. And it is weird, like seeing depending on who the artist is, you see your sensibility, and then starts to get filtered through another visual,
Hmm.
and it's just a little bit weird, but
Yeah,
exciting.
should be interesting if it
Yeah,
ever happens. I don't
no,
know. Hasn't happened yet, but
no, it's good, but that is one way. I mean, that's why I do it. Is because I can't draw everything.
yeah,
Everything I've written, I would have drawn. I just don't.
right, right.
I don't have time.
That's where I'm at. If I could draw them all, I would, but it like one panel could just take me 6 hours or something. I don't know. And
Yeah,
how am I going to do all these ideas? I'm not. There's no way.
yeah,
So
no. And then I always am confused too. I'm like, why do artists want to? Why would you want to draw another person's? I'm always confused by that because I just want to draw my own, all of my own everything, and I can't. And then, but then I do. Some of the artists like. What's interesting is I don't collaborate very often with artists that don't also write. Like David
mm,
Rubin's a great writer. You're a great writer, and then very few like can't also tell stories or write. And I'm always like, I was like, why are you working with me? Why do you do that? And it's a I don't know what the answer is, except that I think maybe writing is just harder. Like drawing is harder for me. Writing is easy, and then for some artists, I think the art's easy and the writing's harder. And I don't. I think that's
but for
maybe.
me, the writing is like the mystery. Like that's I, I mean, drawing is hard, but it, it's just like labor or something. Like
Yeah,
I don't know. I've been doing that way longer. So the writing is like, that's people who can just, I don't know. That's the thing that's like, I, I can't even put it into words. Like it's so much harder to me. Like I still view it. The more I do it, the more I'm like, oh wait, no, it's not actually this. It's not as, you know, it's not this crazy puzzle. Well, it is, but I don't know. I I'm having a really hard time putting it into words, but I feel like I'm someone who doesn't even know how to do. Like I always viewed myself as, oh, I'm not a real writer. I'm not. So then that's why it took me so long to even try. And the more I do, I'm like, oh, well, I can write for myself, but I don't know. It's way harder to me. It's
yeah. That's. I feel like it's like any muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets, or whatever. But
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. It just, but the thing is, you gotta like doing it too. Like to do anything over and over again, you kind of gotta like it, because if you hate it, then you're not gonna want to do it, or you don't do it.
For sure.
But yeah, no, I find the older I get, the more I'm like, man, I miss drawing. Like I've been writing so much that I haven't been able to draw as much, and I really miss it. But um, whatever, I just, yeah, I've gotten to that point where I'm like, I have so many ideas, and then it's awesome to be able to work with you and like the other artists I've been able to work with, and Tyler Jenkins and everybody. Like I was like, I enjoy that. Like that's fun. Like interacting, having like a partner to work with, and then so it's more fun really than me drawing myself sometimes, because it's like, I don't need to
You
do,
prefer that?
I don't, I prefer just writing and drawing my own thing, but the older I get, the more I actually like, because comics is kind of lonely, and so I kind of like interacting
It's very
and
lonely.
having a buddy to work with, so it's
Yeah.
but only as I got older. I think when I was younger, I was like, I needed total control. I wanted to control every part of it, and then the older I get, the more I'm like, I've done that, like I got a bunch of books where I had total control, and it's fun, and I love those books, but I'm also like, I'm not as precious anymore, where I feel like I can give up some of it, and like, and it's fun to sort of hand something over and then see what you do with it, and it's cool. It's fun to get surprises. Like Crimson Flower pages were coming in. I'm like, your layouts and the fun panel borders and everything. I was like, that's cool. I didn't write that. And that's why we collaborate,
Yeah.
so you can come up with some ideas.
Well, I mean, I think that's the fun of it when I'm just you're wondering like, oh, why would you want to just draw if you could write your own thing? But I mean, the stuff that you're coming up with, I would never think of. So I don't know how you come up with this stuff.
No,
And
that's
like I said, the writing part for me is I enjoy it, but it it it's not even close to how confident I am in my drawing. So I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this. But
yeah. No, it's good. I'm excited for you, man. Those pages came in, and then I called my art dealer, and I was like, hey, do you know this guy? And he's like, no, what? Who? I sent him, and then and what's funny, because then he emailed me later. He's like, hey, does he have representation? I was like, I told
nice.
you this guy was gonna be a star. Anyway,
Well,
uh,
thanks for doing that.
I felt justified. I was like, good, people are finding out about you, and I got to get in on the ground floor. I felt lucky.
I'm the lucky one.
You'll
I'm the
be
lucky
too
one.
booked up. You're gonna be too booked up for me from now on, but that's okay.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Hopefully. So what's next for you?
Oh gosh, what am I doing? I'm writing another book with Tyler, like
Nice.
after Fear Case. He keeps, the way our ideas come about, he's like, hey, I want to draw like 60s era, like Vietnam, like Huey helicopters and M16s and like military stuff. And
Ooh.
so I came up with a story that has all that stuff in it. And so that's the one we're doing next. They haven't announced it yet, but
See, that sounds like a fun challenge. If an artist were to tell me,
yeah,
I want to draw this, now make a story out of that. I don't know if I could do that because
it's
I'm
so
always
fun. It
the
makes
only
it
thing I
easy.
could write is where it comes from what I want to write.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's something I would have to look
No,
into one day.
what's I'll tell you the story of this idea, the next book we're doing. We were at a convention, we were just talking, and he was telling me this. He's like, oh, I wanna blah blah blah. I wanna draw all this stuff. I was like, oh, okay, I'll think about it and try to come up with something. And then like later in the day, um his Hillary, his wife, was sitting there, and they were coming by, and they're rolling by with food and delivering food to the tables, which is like, it's a good convention when they bring you food.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then so they were rolling the food by, and she's like, wow, she said, it's a kind of patchy delivery service, like, because the delivery of the food was not that great. And I was like, what? Apache delivery service? And then I was like, what's
Playing
that? What are you
words.
talking about? I misheard it. And so the title of our next book is Apache, like Native American
Ooh,
delivery
nice.
service. And it's got all, I went to bed, I went back to the hotel that night, and I was like, oh my God, it was like an idea just like completely popped into my head. And the next
Just from
day,
that.
Yeah, I pitched it to him. I was like, here's the title. It's got all of this in it. And then
Cool.
that was our next book. So totally random.
Nice. And how much does he give you? Does he just say very simple, like, I want to draw this, want to draw that, come
Yeah.
up with something off that?
Yeah, yeah. So I came up with something off that. And then as we go along, he'll pitch ideas in, and then we're working on this one. And then he's texting me, and he was like, hey, what about, I want to do something with, he wants to do a Western. And I was like, I want to do a romance next. So we're gonna think our next,
Combine the two?
I think we're just gonna do them as, we're just gonna hit every genre. We're gonna do like this is our war comic. We did a horror comic. We're gonna do romance. We're gonna do a Western, and then science fiction, I guess, would be the last one. But I'm gonna try to do one of everything.
Nice.
But I don't know, just having fun.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, let's see. I wrote down questions for you. I think we covered everything though, because I don't interview people. I don't even consider this really an interview, but here's my fun question for you is like, what's the weirdest commission request you've gotten?
Uh, uh,
if you can even say it.
there have been, yeah, there's one I can't say, but I'll say one. I don't want to make anybody feel bad, but
You don't have to, and don't feel uncomfortable.
I'll just say it because I doubt they even remember it. But they wanted me to draw their dogs, just their two dogs as superheroes.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice
like,
though.
I couldn't do it.
That's not weird at all. That's.
I felt like, I don't know. I'm like, what? Like what? This isn't in my wheelhouse in any way. Like I can't do. I had to deny it because I'm like they wanted it like realistic, like a realistic, but still make them superheroes somehow. I don't know.
No,
that's not the weirdest. That's not the weirdest, but
that's less weird, more just like kind of the hardest ones. Anything where it's like a likeness or you want,
I can't do it.
I want my family as superheroes, or like, I was like, man, I'm real bad at likenesses. Have you seen me draw a face? You're asking me to draw a face.
I've been asked that too, like draw my son as, I don't know, the Flash or something. I can't do that.
I'll do them sometimes.
You can see what I normally do, just go off of that.
Yeah.
This is my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I can't draw everything. Like,
no, that's great.
People just assume you're a magician. Like, no, I'm kind of limited actually. If you look at what I've done, that's what I do.
No, it's great though. I will say, and I got to go on the record saying you draw. I thought, I think you've taken the throne for best cartoon teeth in comics. I just have to say it.
Thanks.
The teeth are amazing. Like Dan Clowes is, and I probably told you this a long time ago. It was like Dan Clowes is always like the pinnacle for me.
Yeah.
I could always draw people with weird teeth. But
I get obsessed with like weird things. Like I'll be I don't know, I'll be into drawing weird roofs on buildings, or I'll be into boots, or I'll be into. At that time, I was into teeth. Like it would be. It's just fun to try and figure it out, like in my own way, though.
Yeah. No, I can totally see it. I've done that too. I'll do it with like buildings or architecture, and then what's funny is like those sort of hang around. Like I have like 5 or 6 buildings now. I can just draw from memory.
Yeah. I'm never trying to figure out the real way or realistic or. I just want to figure out my way.
Right.
Do it my way, and then it can't be wrong.
Right. I know. Right. You figure out a way that looks cool, that you can make look cool, and then you just do it. But,
and I need to make it fun. Cool. I don't want to. If I'm trying to draw it how it actually is, it feels like I'm doing homework. Like I'm just trying to replicate something that already exists. I'm not interested in that. Like I want to just do my own.
Yeah.
My own interpretation of.
No, everything. That's super smart. That reminds me of like when I started in my first book, Pistol Whip. It was in the 40s, and they're walking around the city, and then I used to I had my rulers and my T-square and and I was doing the perspective and then for the buildings and all the city stuff, and I hated doing it. I just hated the process, and like you can make it look right or whatever, but I was like so bored doing it. So then I was like, what if I just like bend everything and like make the perspectives weird, and then I started, and it was like my big breakthrough. It was like, oh good, and now I'm having fun. I actually like drawing buildings, but I'm drawing them like kind of wonky, and like they're bending, and the perspectives kind of weird and everything, but it was so much more fun to draw.
Yeah. I
You
feel
just
like you have to do
dragon.
that with. I feel like you have to do that with everything. Like half the things you see me draw in a comic, I don't want to draw it. I'm forcing myself
Yeah.
to have fun with it. Like, how can I draw a toaster? I need to make that fun because I feel like that translates too.
Yeah.
If I'm hating it, no one's gonna want to look at it.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like that just it radiates off the drawing. Like he did not enjoy this.
He didn't want to
I,
draw it.
if the story calls for it, then I have to draw it, even if it's in my own thing. Like if they need to go to a
Right.
train station or they need to go to a restaurant or something I wouldn't draw just in my own free time, it doesn't matter. I need to find a way to make this fun for myself because I need to draw it. Why not make it fun?
Yeah.
So, and then hopefully from that, it looks fun or it looks interesting or it looks like something you want to look at or something you want to read.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
No, that's what I like. Your strength to me is like you make the boring stuff interesting to look at. But even then, I was like, when I was writing Crimson Flower, I was trying to. I know she's basically driving around in a car the entire time and talking to people, right? And then, so I was consciously trying to make it something interesting or weird for you to draw most of the time. And so I don't.
Funny,
Yeah, tell me what part was the worst to draw, the most boring part.
ooh, most
Or
boring
not. Or
part.
just tell me the thing you were just gonna say. Tell me that instead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we were talking about weird commissions or the thing that annoys me a little bit. Not annoys me. It doesn't annoy me. It just I feel like people have the wrong idea. They try to give me, oh, have you ever drawn the Max? Or have you ever drawn? They try to give me the weird characters or the exaggerated characters because they think I want to draw that.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's already been done. It's already been someone's already done it in their voice. Give me, I'd rather have something boring so then I can interpret it in my own way and have fun with that. It's already been. I don't want to draw the Max
Yeah, yeah.
ever. It's already been,
Well, let's say
made weird or it's been made in
right.
its own way.
It's already got its own kind of distorted sort of perspective and everything too. No, that's what my favorite stuff that I see you doing is like the question or even martial law is a little almost more normal when you do it, you know. But
Yeah,
yeah, it is. It's just like I want to see you draw Spider-Man who or Judge Dredd. You did a weird Judge Dredd that I thought was great. But no, that's I'm the same way. Like when I get commissions, I'm like, I don't want to draw like I don't want to draw the stuff I draw. I want to draw I draw a really weird Spider-Man. I want to draw
yeah,
Spider-Man.
yeah. I think some people don't realize that that would be a better for any artist really. Like
Yeah.
don't give them the crazy, oh, he draws crazy, so give him the crazy character. No, no, no. Give me something you wouldn't expect, and then
Mhm.
let me do my thing with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
No,
that's the
that's
most
more
fun.
fun. Yeah, that's like what I was saying about like Mobius drawing Iron Man. I'm like, that's what it's so neat because it's so
You
different.
wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
And
anyway.
it's not for the sake of making it unexpected, but it's just I'm doing it in my own way, not the way it's been done. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
doing it in some other artist's way. I'm doing it in my way.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, that's what's fun about the commissions, really, is
And even
that.
like the one I'm about to do, it's the last one. Maybe, hopefully, if I have my way, it would probably be my last one ever because I don't like doing commissions.
Yeah.
News flash to not to
You're
burst
killing
anyone's
your
bubble,
business.
but I actually don't like doing them because pretty much every one of them, it's like what you said. It's the same as drawing a toaster. Like I'm not interested in that. I have no passion behind that. I have to make myself like the past few. I've had to spend a day or two. I've wasted a day or two just thinking about it, trying to come up with something, trying to get myself excited about this. But I don't care about it. I'm just want to do comics. I just want to do my own comics. That's where I am now. But
Yeah.
anyway, the one I'm about to do, the challenge for this one is, unless I could change it, but I'm gonna do kind of like a boring pose, or just a static pose, and try to
Mhm.
make that interesting. Like everyone's always like, oh, you got to do a dynamic pose. You have to do a crazy, which I've done that. That's fun, but
Mhm.
no, you don't have to. Well, I try to view things with a why not mentality. Like, why not? Why instead of why not? Like, there's no rules. There's no rules to any
Yeah,
of this stuff. Like,
yeah.
it's completely open. You can do. That's where the fun stuff is. Like,
No, that's true.
so
Yeah, I feel that pressure on commissions too, because you want it to be dynamic and action. One of my favorite commissions I did was this Daredevil, and he's just like sitting looking sad. I just did, but I did more with the watercolor. I painted it in a more like real way or something, and then it was one of my favorite ones. But he's just sitting there, like sad Matt Murdock.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
I'm into that. Like, I think just somebody sitting down can be interesting. Like, you can do a lot with it with just
yeah,
the simplest thing. I don't know. People just some people think you have to go, crazy, like crazy pose, dynamic action, which I just did that with the last commission. I just did. It was like an monster thing, but that's just what I thought of. But I don't know. I don't know what people are expecting, so I just try to make it good, no matter what. I don't know. But what's good? What's good?
yeah.
I don't know what good is.
If you had fun doing it, it's
Just try
probably
to have
good.
fun. Yeah.
All right,
So,
man, that's cool. Well, that's all I got for you. I won't keep you too long. I just wanted,
alrighty.
um, and I guess I'll introduce you at the end. So I'll do it right now. This is Matt Lesniewski. Go buy his books, Crimson Flower, The Freak, Static just came out. I don't know what else you want me to promote, but I don't know.
No, that,
I don't do this very
that's
often.
cool. Thanks for asking me to do this.
Yeah. No
Thanks
sweat.
for having me do Crimson Flower. I appreciate the opportunity. It was fun doing that book.
Oh man, it was fun.
Um,
It was nice to get to meet you during the process of it. It's always a little bit weird not knowing a person and then getting to know them during a thing like comics is kind of personal. So
all right. Bye, everybody.
yeah,
Thanks for watching.
yep.